Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, CA Pooja Sancheti. On behalf of Women's and Young Members Excellent Committee of ICI, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to Yashashwini and Ideal Series 73. Yashashwini and Ideal is a Wednesday series of program conducted by the Women's and Young Members Excellence Committee for the Women CAs and by the Women CAs. This series is an extension of Sky High Symposium, which concluded its 100 episodes. It is one of the committee initiative to not only disseminate information to women members on technical updation and non-technical skills, but also to empower and inspire women members to come at forefront and realize their verbal skill at public forum. Now I introduce today's speaker, CA Suchitra Kanabar ma'am. Suchitra Kanabar ma'am, a chartered accountant with a diploma in IFRS, has an experience with leading CA firm and has expertise in statutory audit, compliance, financial reporting, and IFRS. She has also contributed as a speaker, and after a career break, she is now keen to re-enter the profession with her strong technical expertise and adaptability. Without further delay, may I request CA Suchitra ma'am to take us forward and begin today's session.
Thank you, Madam Pooja, for the wonderful introduction and the warm welcome. I am honored today to be here as a part of your the organization and speak on the topic of statutory audit in the digital area. I'll just share my screen. I hope you all can view the presentation now.
Not yet, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, ma'am.
Sorry?
No, we are unable to hear your PPT, ma'am.
Hear my PPT.
Ma'am, your PPT, ma'am.
Are you able to hear me?
Ma'am, you are audible, but your PPT is not visible.
Okay, 1 minute. Now you are able to see?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Everybody present here already know what is statutory audit. Just a quick glance. An audit that is required by law or statute to be conducted on the financial statements of an organization. The purpose is to provide an independent opinion on the fairness and the accuracy of the financial statements prepared in accordance with the applicable accounting standards, and to ensure that the organization complies with the relevant laws, rules, regulations. In India, the Companies Act 2013 requires all the companies registered under the Act to undergo statutory audit of their financial statements every year. Qualified chartered accountant who is registered with the institute can only do the audit, statutory audit. Now, what do you understand by the term digital era? Let's look into the definition of it. It says it's a current historical period characterized by the widespread use of digital technologies like the computer, internet, mobile devices. Mobile devices, computer are an integral part of our life every day now, without which communication cannot happen. We have to access information, social networking, everything happens on these devices nowadays. So the key characteristics of the digital area is there's widespread digital technology, there's digitization of the information. Earlier, all the data present with the companies were in the physical form, and then as and when the computers progressed, most of the data was taken up on the various kinds of software, and because of which the information can be accessed very rapidly. So there is a lot of transformation which the industries have undergone since ancient times, and there is a lot of technological advancements. The best example is Internet of Things, where the devices are getting connected to the internet. So you would be just sitting on the sofa and you could with a remote control your manage your refrigerator, or you can even manage your washing machine. So this is all the technological advancements that are happening. Impacts of the digital era: changing how people learn and how knowledge is disseminated. Shift to an information based economy influences communication patterns, social interaction, and cultural norms, even breaking down geographical barriers. Personalization and now auditing digitally and expectations from the auditor. Using advancement in technology for conducting efficient and effective audit. Use of automation and innovation. For example, you can make use of bot for analyzing the various statutory payments that a company is required to do. What are the expectations of the auditor when he's auditing digitally? First of all, he has to think that whether he has proper knowledge to use the technology which the company is using. And if not, whether he can upskill himself or the people in his audit team. If that is also not possible, then he can involve the experts into it. So, understanding the system is very much important to decide what kind of educational skill is required to use the technology that the company is using. Automate and enhance existing business process. Evolving the scope of audit. Example, using bot to find out changes addition in the vendor master after proper approval. Need for auditing digitally. There are a lot of reasons why it has become important for the auditor to use different kinds of tools. First and foremost is large data sets are available. So you have to identify the pattern of data sets and you have to detect any anomalies in it. So that is what is called data analytics. Then you have to automate the routine task, increase productivity, focus on high areas, reduces manual errors. So all this leads to cost savings. Then you have to allow for prompt identification and resolution of issues. So that's why the real time monitoring of financial transaction and processes become important. Also, you can make timely and informed decision making. Then you have transparent and tamper evident audit trail. Regulatory compliance becomes easy. You can comply with the relevant laws, regulations, and standards. Proactive assessment. Here, you can provide recommendations for mitigating risk and improving the internal controls. Improved audit quality, consistency removes risk of human bias and subjectivity. Key features or the advantages of auditing digitally. Improved quality of audit, decreasing human dependency. So the risk or the errors because of which human errors happen, all those will be reduced considerably, and transparency increases. Automation and ease. Dashboard Power BI for reporting helps the auditor to understand the position and express his opinion. In improved efficiency, you can simply say that simple training and digital upskilling will result in improved retention of talent and confidence in the audit team. Better risk assessment. You can focus on bigger picture rather than doing a repetitive task. So we can make use of dashboards, visual presentations, and other tools which help in understanding where the risk lies and what all are the areas that need more attention. So the auditor can basically focus on the high risk areas and decide that which areas need more time, more of his time, and those which can be repetitive task, or those which are not of so much importance can be handled by you can say the latest technological tools that are available in the market. Then there are many challenges and ethical considerations in doing digital audit. First and foremost is data security. We have to ensure that the data which is available to us, made available to us, is kept secret. It cannot be leaked to anybody else. Privacy concerns are very much important, and governance. These all lead to ensuring that the information is protected. All the information that is shared to us is sensitive from the company point of view. So we have to ensure that it is not leaked. And then again, upskill and adapt to the new technology. The auditor has to again see here that whether he is capable enough of understanding the system that has been provided, and if he thinks that he has to upskill himself, then he can do that, or he can involve an expert. But ultimately again, he has to ensure that the risk involved in it, he has to understand that he is not expected to be an auditor, but definitely he has to understand the risk that has been involved in it. Then integration of new technology with the existing auditing processes. uh, you are aware that a lot of new technologies have come up in the market, but we cannot utilize all of them. So first we have to think whether that the new technology which has come, is it compatible with the existing business process that we are using. If it is not compatible, how it can be made compatible, or if the cost involved is more, then better to drop the idea if the returns from using that new technology are not coming. So everything boils down to whether cost benefit analysis is done, and whether it is beneficial to the auditor and to the organization. So everything has to be taken into consideration before using any new technology for doing the audit. Then identify the problems to be solved. First and foremost is whatever you are taking up for audit, you have to identify that how are you going to solve it in a quick manner, and if there are any problems arising, how the same can be solved. So we have range of automated solutions like macros and scripts, BPA, RPA, IPA. So you can make use of them for solving the problems. Then a consideration of risk. uh, Again, I have already stated that you have to find out the inherent risk which is involved in the new technology which is going to be adopted by the organization, and then accordingly decide what has to be done. Holistic understandings of the changes in the industry and the IT environment. You have to keep yourself updated with the latest things that are happening in the industry so that you can make best use of it. Control considerations, objectives of auditing digitally. Holistic understanding changes in the industry and the IT environment. So first and foremost, again over here, we have to understand what is happening in the industry, what is the present situation of the client, what is happening in the industry of the same client, and what are the changes that are happening in the IT environment. Design appropriate auditing procedures. It may happen that last year the company was using a different audit procedure, but this year, because of new technology, they decided that we would adopt the new technology rather than the old one, and accordingly the auditor can decide that this year, instead of doing the same process, adopt a new one. Maybe you could find out something, some error or some fraud, which would be helpful in doing the audit process. So it's not necessary that just because a audit procedure was being followed, we have to follow the same. Consideration of risk resulting from new technologies, which I've already said, you have to analyze the inherent risk in using the new technology, and most important, also the cost of the same, and then decide how are risks different from the traditional systems. This is what I said. If we have been following a certain auditing procedure, not necessary that we have to follow the same, we can change it, analyze it, and then if we have to understand the risk involved in it, and then accordingly decide what has to be adopted. Digital upskilling cannot be separated from the auditor at all. In the digital, when you are auditing digitally, this is the most important thing the auditor needs. So you have to keep yourself updated with the latest things happening in the digital world. Understanding of design, implementation, and operating effectiveness of controls. Key shifts in statutory auditing. We have been doing statutory audit from a very long time. But with the advancement in technology, there is a lot and lot of shifts which are happening in the statutory auditing, the way that it has to be conducted, because time and the data which is available to us is very huge. So the correct terminology which is appearing is explosion of digital data. If you see, you have to swift through huge volumes of data from ERP systems, cloud platforms, and digital transactions. So a lot of things are happening, and in that situation, if the auditor sits and uses his old tools, maybe he may not get the results which he expects. So there is a key shift in statutory auditing. And the list of the new technologies coming up is endless. Few of them I have mentioned here. The first one is artificial intelligence. The short form of that is AI and the machine learning. It is actually data analysis and algorithms which are used in the systems or machines so that they can think and learn. So best what you can see is Siri and Alexa, which is common in our homes everywhere. This is the best example of artificial intelligence which we are noticing. Then we have blockchain and smart contracts. These are decentralized distributed ledger that is secured through encryption. You have Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, transfer application, and money transfer. This blockchain and smart contracts are very much in use in the current scenario. Then we have data analytics, which are used to basically analyze the data. ACL is audit command language. It is where data analysis software which provides tools to build accounting software which is used to prevent and detect fraud, which in turn turns any document including the financial statements into cost effective client ready report. This is what it is all about. Then we also have uh, data extraction and analysis software, which can help detect and prevent risk management. Also, trial balance reconciliations can be done with this. Then we have Power BI, which is a business language, basically used by non-technical users for sharing data and aggregate information, visualizing. Sales data can be converted into dashboard. Then we have caseware also. So basically, these are all Alteryx can be used to consolidate data to access controls. Logistic organization uses Alteryx. Then cyber security and risk management. It is basically an attempt. Cyber security and risk management is used to control when an unauthorized access is made with an intent to cause damage or steal or destroy the data. If you want to do all this, then cyber security and risk management comes into the picture. Then we have robotics. It is automation of the repetitive process where which are performed by the users. Example, ticket booking. When we do booking with the railways or the airports, we can make use of robotics over there. Then we have remote and virtual auditing. In pandemic times, this feasibility and remote and virtual auditing has become a reality. Most of the times where the auditor is not able to be present physically where the data is available, or he cannot travel very far and wide, then remote and virtual auditing comes to the rescue. So there also virtual audit teams, they collaborate with the client stakeholders through the digital platform. So in that, they have to determine the feasibility and then do the planning. Confidentiality of the data is very much important. Again, security and data protection is again important. Then you have to understand the risk assessment. Cloud-based audit software allows auditor to analyze and assess the financial data from anywhere. So here also, remote and virtual auditing, it has a lot of advantages. You can sit at the in the comfort of your house and call for the data, finish the work, and send it to them without even physically going to the audit place. And the data can be called for well in advance. When we go to physically audit the data, many a times we have to keep waiting for the data to arrive in spite of giving them information well in advance that we are going to come to audit. But in this, we can save our time. If the client has not shared the data, we can sit at home and do our work, or in the office, wherever we are, from wherever the remote and virtual auditing is being done. So it saves a lot of time of the person who is doing the audit. So remote and virtual auditing is the in thing at present. Also, it ensures that the auditor is updated with the latest technologies, because when we are using the software of the company with which of whom we are doing the audit, we also have to get upgraded based on the data that they have in the system. Some kind of ERPs, like the data that they download and send it to us, we should be able to analyze on our system. So maybe we'll be upgrading new softwares there also. So this is also a new advantage to get updated with the new systems. Next is understanding the stages of the IT environment. First and foremost important thing is we have to understand the flow of the transaction. So unless and until we know what is happening, we cannot determine what audit tool we have to use. So first we have to understand the flow of the transaction. Second thing is you have to identify the significant systems. So what all are the systems that are connected to that transaction? Because being an IT environment, there will be a lot of softwares which would be integrated together. So you have to understand what systems are getting involved in it. Then manual automated controls. Here you have to identify uh, who is the authority who is controlling, and whether he has the authority to control that, whether he has not crossed his limits and tried to overpower the rights and the authorities that have been given to him, and also the latest technologies that are being used in that system, that also has to be identified. Then assess the complexity of the IT environment. So again, here you will have to understand each and everything right from the scratch to determine how complex is the situation, and then accordingly decide that which tool you can think of using. Key steps for the auditor in the changing IT environment. Now, the auditor has to keep in mind that he has to maintain sufficient professional skepticism when reviewing management risk assessment for a new system. For example, you have to see professional skepticism is the fundamental attitude of the auditor in which is characterized by questioning mind. You have to do critical assessment of audit evidence and an alert awareness of conditions that may indicate possible misstatement due to error and fraud. Next is understand the direct and the indirect effects of new technology and determine how its use by the entity impacts the auditor's overall risk assessment. This we already discussed before, that he has to understand the new technology that has been used by the client and then determine whether what is the inherent risk in it, and whether they should continue with the old system or take up the new technology, and accordingly he has to adopt the tool to determine how much risk is involved. Understanding how the technology impacts the flow of transaction. Then you have to design sufficient and appropriate audit response. So whatever audits and whatever work you are doing and whatever analysis you have done about the risk, and understanding how the technology impacts the flow of transaction, everything has to be documented, and you have to give a appropriate audit response for the same. Then assess appropriateness of management process to select, develop, operate, and maintain controls related to the organization's technology. Assess appropriateness of management process. So then, again here you have to determine the cost benefit analysis, whether the controls kept over there are in place or no. Select, develop, operate, maintain controls related to the organization technology. You have to assess everything and then decide what has to be done. So everything boils down to one thing: what, how much risk assessment is involved, and what would be the cost for the same, and plus what whether it would be impairing professional independence of the auditor. That also has to be seen in this. The need for identifying IT dependencies. Now, here it helps to identify the entity's reliance upon IT. So, first of all, you have to determine to what extent is the company relying upon the information technology. What are the technologies involved, and to what extent there is automation. So, you have to understand the whole process first. Then, understand how IT is integrated into the entity's business model. So the flow of transactions that are happening and the technology involved in it, you have to understand how they are integrated together. Next is identify the potential risk arising from the use of IT. So again, here you have to see that if a person has been authorized to do X and Y work, whether he's doing his duty as per that or whether he's overriding his duty. So basically, you have to see that the controls are in place or no, and if they are not, what would be the risk arising from that? Identify the related IT general controls and enables to develop an effective, efficient, and audit approach. So then you have to decide whether you have to do an effective, efficient, and audit approach.
Hello.
Then, in the IT general controls, you can also see that you can have a best example wherein there's an IT head and he's authorized to do certain jobs. He sometimes has been given the power to override it so that if any transaction needs rectification or anything has to be done with the approval of the appropriate authority, he can override the general controls. So even that needs to be looked into, that the overriding power, whether a person has and to what extent it has been used, and how is it that how it has helped the organization in the same. So this all has to be seen together. Next is type of IT dependencies. These are the various kinds of IT dependencies which we see every day when we do audit. We have already been using these kind of IT dependencies in our present audit. The first one is automated controls. Uh, Here, the example is purchase order approval, existence check, reasonable check. So, whenever a purchase order has been received, whenever a purchase order has been received, whether there is the order has been approved based on the considerations that have been taken by the company, whether it is appropriate as per the norms which have been set by the controls which have been placed in the system, whether all the system checks are there for purchase order approval. So, and whether that purchase order which has been accepted, the purchase has actually happened, that's the existence check. And whether it is reasonable or no, that also has to be seen. Then various kinds of reports are generated from the ERP systems. Example, vendor master report, customer aging report. Besides this, there are many other reports. So the number of reports that are generated are accurate, and you have to see that those reports have not been manipulated. So, if a person has gone beyond the authority which he has been given and he has made changes in the vendor master, or he has changed the customer aging report just to benefit himself, then it needs to be considered. So, reports are a very important type of IT dependencies. Then calculations, the straight line depreciation formula, which is there in the books, whether you can do a test check basis to see that the calculations coming up proper or no. Then security, segregation of duties, separation of roles and responsibilities. Here, it was clearly said that the person who is the one who is entering the data will not have the power to authorize the data. There has to be segregation of duty. Otherwise, it could happen that for the self-interest, the data could be manipulated. So it is very much important, and we have to ensure that the data which has been in the system is not leaked out of the organization. So data security and privacy is very, very important. You cannot lose that. And also governance comes here into the picture. We have to ensure that all the rules, regulations of the government are strictly followed, and the data, various kinds of reports are required to be given to the government also. So the data generated has to be very accurate. You just cannot generate a report based on the format which is available, made available by the government, and give it. You have to ensure that it is containing accurate data. Otherwise, in future, you could be foreseeing that you have some troubles from the government coming in. So, roles and responsibilities have to be understood very, very clearly over here, and segregation of duties is very much important. So, the overall authority of the person who can override the set laws or regulations has to be seen into, and it has to be ensured that the wherever any transaction is being overridden, it has to be done with the permission of the appropriate authority. It cannot be done uh, say without anybody's permission. It has to be in a proper way. There has to be protocol which has to be followed if something genuine has to be corrected. Then interfaces. You have to transfer the data from the payroll subledger to the general ledger. We have various kinds of subledgers in the system. So from there, if the data has to be transferred to the general ledger, then definitely you need to ensure that the interfaces are working properly. And the data which is transferred from one system to the other is accurate. It's not that by transferring the data from one system to the other, something is missing. That is not acceptable. So there has to be a proper check to ensure that when the data has been transferred to the new ledger, both the places the accounting entries are the same. So that check can be implied. Identify the risk arising from the use of IT. Now there are various kind of risk. These risks are inherent to the business because these risks are inherent to the IT. Now no business can survive without the use of IT. So these are all the risks which are inherent in the system itself. So if you see, there is unauthorized access to the data. So you have to stop that. So cyber security is coming into the picture over here again. Then IT personnel gaining access privileges beyond those necessary. I just spoke about it, that any person who is trying to override the authorities and responsibilities given to him, then these are all the risks which are inherent from the use of IT. Unauthorized changes to IT applications. Inappropriate manual intervention. This is what I said. You cannot manually intervene the transactions that are happening in the system. If it has to happen, it is with the approval of the appropriate authority. Suppose if financial statements are prepared and subsequently an auditor finds out that there was a misstatement and that needs to be rectified in the financials. So the financials are to be rectified. So you have to take the appropriate authority. Decision would be the director or the board of directors, and then they decide that you have to intervene with the system, and then you have to correct the material misstatement, and then again give the new financials, corrected financials. So it has to be manual intervention has to be in a proper order. There has to be proper authorization for the same. Then data loss or data corruption. Data loss can happen due to something natural happening, like it could be a short circuit, or it could be some viruses entering the system because of which the data is not available to us, or the data gets corrupted sometimes due to viruses also. So you should have some system backups of the data. so that if the data is lost on your main hard drive, at least you have a backup available with you. So regular backups are necessary. There is no other way out to ensure that there is no data loss or data corruption. Then failure to make necessary updates. Normally, in the IT system, you have to ensure that whatever new updates are available, you have to make a setting in your system in such a way that whatever new updates are coming, there's a pop out of the same, so that you can keep on updating the same. If you don't update it, your system would be lacking behind, and it could be possible that a new entry or some kind of new software update which has come, because of which your transaction is not getting updated. So you have to ensure that your softwares are kept updated based on the latest updates available in the market. Risk of system downtime. Sometimes, because of power shortage, or there is power supply is not there, so you have to wait for the system to work. So risk of system downtime is always there in the IT environment. You cannot help that. Then system integration and compatibility. So whatever ERP systems that you are using and whatever new technology that you have, they have to be compatible and integrated. It might happen that the system is not compatible with the latest technology, so the reports that are required by the organization may not be generated. So before the company enters into, you say, uh, any transaction, first of all, system integration and compatibility has to be tested. Then only the company should decide whether they have to adopt the new technology or no. So everything boils down to one thing, that you have to understand the system, you have to understand everything that is happening in the IT environment. Unless you have the knowledge of the latest things happening, and you understand the system that you are using, it would be very, very difficult for the auditor to decide what kind of tools he has to use, and also for the organization to decide whether they have to uh, use what kind of software and what kind of latest technologies available, or data analytics which are available in the market. Technological risk, where auditors should test appropriate controls. So the most important thing is again cyber security risk, which I've already discussed. Then you have to ensure that unauthorized access to data resulting in destruction of data or improper changes. This also I already discussed, where I said that you cannot have unauthorized access to the data. A person cannot manually intervene the data. He has to have proper authorization of the same. Unauthorized erroneous changes to master files. If the master files needs updation, suppose if there are new columns to be added, or some new information needs to be added for all the customers or all the vendors, then those changes have to be with the approval of the appropriate authority. It cannot be randomly said that, okay, IT person come here, we want these changes in the master file. Or the suppose if it has to be done in the vendor master, the vendor manager cannot say that I want this and you get it done. It has to be with the approval of the proper authority, and there has to be proper documentation of the reasoning why the changes are being made to the master files. Possibility of the IT personnel gaining access privileges beyond those necessary to perform. Here again, IT personnel would be having some access privileges. If the suppose if any changes are to be made in the entries, or something important has come up, like how they said was we have to change the master files. For these purposes, if they want, then the IT personnel will be given certain access privileges. He has to use only those access privileges. He cannot perform beyond them. If there is performance needed beyond the access privileges, then again proper approval is required for the same. Unauthorized changes to system or programs. So you cannot change the system or the program that has been running or in place for a long time. And if you want to make the change, document it, take the proper approval of the appropriate authority, and then decide what has to be done with the system or the program which you think needs to be amended or updated. Then there is potential loss of data or inability to access data. It could happen that while doing a remote audit, you have called for certain information and you have provided the access link for the same, but you cannot access it due to some reasons, or some authorization is not complete, or the link that was provided to you, the data stored over there got vanished because of some natural disaster or something. So then again, you have to call for the data backups so that you can access the data. Inability to access data, or the data has not been provided by the client to you, you have to take appropriate action depending upon the situation. But data backups will always be there with the business system. So if there is inability to access the data on the main drives which are working, you can always call for backups and then try to complete the work. Now, the future of auditing. If you see, this is what the future of auditing looks like. At present, we do sampling population analysis. So from there, we'll go to full population analysis, because now you would be having your what do you say, latest technologies with you. You will be using your audit tools and data analytics, because large amount of data is available with you, so you can make the decision based off the risk involved based on the full population analysis, not necessarily sampling population. You can have multiple data sets, and here you will be going to one data set. Then disconnected tools, you will be going to integrated ecosystem services. Here you will be going from manual risk assessment to dynamic data driven assessment. Separated communication, you would be going to embedded communication. Then you would be going from repetitive tasks to high value work and capacity for growth. Manual work, automation, and ad hoc insights into insights from a broader audit. Here, I would like to share an example. Like, you can make use of drones, wherein which can be used to take stock of what do you call the, say, the inventory or fixed assets. So if you're sitting in one place and you want to make use of virtual or remote audit, and instead of going to the place where the stocks of fixed assets have been kept, we would rather stay at home or in the office, and you can make use of drone technology. So what it will happen is, great payload capacity for carrying sensors and cameras are there. They can photograph and physically examine and count large quantities of fixed assets and inventories. So you can make use of quality QR code readers, handheld bar scanners, manual counts can be done. The drones can be used to integrate with these devices to optimize the quality of deliverables. You can consolidate information and enhance execution, speed, correctness, and completeness of data. So this is all the future of auditing. wherein, see this part where repetitive tasks which you are doing would be converted into high value work and capacity for growth. Instead of doing the same thing again and again, we would rather focus on the areas which are important and high value high risk areas, which would be more beneficial to the auditor than doing the repetitive task. The repetitive task can be given to robotics, so that that report will be generated and you would be having a look at that and then decide how much risk is involved. You don't have to keep on doing the repetitive task. The repetitive task would be taken care of by the robotics, and here you would be focusing on the areas where high risk is involved. And also again, here if you see, the automation again here would take a very important place in the auditing system. So audit tools, data analytics become very very important. You need to understand the latest data analytics and automatic tools in the market at present. Will be dynamic data driven assessment. So insights from the broader audit would be basically where high risk areas are involved. So whole of the audit would boil down to high risk areas, and it would be very very helpful to the auditor to find out whether uh, the financial statements give true and fair view, as statements, or he needs to modify the audit. Becomes very important for the auditor. Conclusion: what are auditors expected to do? In the statutory audit which is happening in the present digital area, what are the expectations with the auditor? See, the auditors are not expected to be experts in every technology, but they have to understand the risk inherent in the technologies. So, first and foremost thing which has very important for the auditor is he has to understand the technology architecture. So basically, he has to understand whether what the technology is made up of. Then he has to understand the internal control framework which has been embedded in the technology and its integration with the business. So, if you see, suppose take a simple example of the various IT controls, where IT has been authorized to update the vendor master, or it has been authorized to update the, say, customer or inventory system. So you have to understand the various internal control frameworks in each and every system, and its integration with the ERP system that is going on in the business, plus the technology that has been used or embedded or integrated with the business. It is very, very important that the auditor identifies the risk which is inherent in the technology. Next thing he has to identify is the right balance between cost and benefits of internal controls for mitigating risk factors. Understand how technology integrates with business, how it is governed, activated, automated, controlled, business impact of automation, how negative impacts are controlled and monitored. So, all this he has to consider and then decide whether he has to go in for the particular audit tool or no. He has to identify the right balance between the cost and the benefit of internal controls for mitigating the risk factors. There are many technologies available at present, so he has to see that the technology that is available is how it is going to impact the business in the future. It should not have negative impact, and if there is negative impact, then how it is controlled and monitored. Business impact of automation also has to be considered. So if you think that XYZ technology is available, but the cost to implement that is much more than the benefit that you're going to get, then it is better not to make use of that automation. Rather, go with the flow of the organization at present, whatever the system is being followed. The business can continue with that, and the auditor can use the same audit technique to audit that particular area. So, identifying the right balance between cost and benefit of internal controls for mitigating risk factors is very much important. And we have to ensure that we know that we are not going to be experts of the various technologies that are available in the market, but definitely we can upskill ourselves. And if we cannot do that, then we can make use of experts wherever required and wherever they are available in the market, and then accordingly decide what has to be done. We have to keep on upgrading ourselves based on the latest things that are available in the market. We also have uh, you, you can say that there is no expectation that the auditor has to be digital expert, but definitely identifying the risk inherent in the technology is very much necessary. He can provide recommendations that what can be done to mitigate the risk, and how the internal controls are there, how it can be improved. That much help he can provide. So, also, while ensuring that the compliance with relevant rules and regulations and standards are there, he has to see that he can provide recommendations whenever any new laws or regulations or standard comes up. Then he can tell the company that you have to modify the system based on the new requirements of the laws, and then accordingly they can update the system or upgrade the system or bring in new technology depending on whatever is the requirement of the organization. So uh, it's very challenging for the auditors at present to continue the task based on so much uh, data availability that is there at present, and he has to always think that he has to call for prompt identification and resolution of issues that the he is facing plus the company is facing, in order to ensure that the laws and regulations are complied with. So in a way, you can sum up that the auditors whole criteria boils down to only one thing: identify the right balance between the cost benefits of internal controls for mitigating the risk factors, and identify the risk inherent in each technology. Yeah, any questions? Uh, Else we can end the session here.
Yes. Just any questions? I don't find any questions in the chat box. Um, So, no questions. Okay. I would like to extend a sincere vote of thanks to our esteemed speaker, Sri Suchitra ji, for sharing their expertise insight on such a difficult topic of statutory audit in the digital area. Your presentation has provided us with comprehensive understanding of the challenges and opportunities the digital transformation brings to statutory audit. We appreciate your time and effort in preparing and delivering such an informative and engaging session. Thank you so much. Thank you, CS Satyacharya.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you very much. I thank sincerely to the Institute and the Women's Excellence Committee for calling me here. I am very much honored to be part of this, and I am very much thankful to you all for giving me this opportunity. Very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
It
you.
was a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, CA Tanshisha, and I have the honor of being a moderator for today's program. It truly gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this session. It is now my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, CA Dipti Savjani. She is highly accomplished chartered accountant with over 13 years of experience in the areas of direct and indirect taxation, litigation, audits, and financial advisory. Her career reflects a blend of deep technical expertise and passion for professional excellence. In addition to her work in taxation and advisory, she is certified soft skill trainer, conducting programs on communication, leadership, and emotional intelligence. She has also been actively involved in professional development and women empowerment initiatives, inspiring and mentoring many along the way. Today, she will be sharing her valuable insights on a very relevant and practical topic balancing the clock and conduct, time management, and office etiquettes. In our fast paced professional world, managing time effectively and maintaining the right professional etiquette are essential for success, and I am certain her thoughts will add great value to each one of us present here. So, without further delay, please join me in warmly welcoming our speaker, CA Dipti Savjani. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I thank Women and Young Members Excellence Committee for providing me this opportunity to present my views on both the topics that are very promising. And once they are managed aptly, success will run behind all the professionals. So just allow me to share my presentation with you all. I hope that's visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you. Right. So it's always about the time. We need to balance our clock as well as we need to balance our conduct whenever we are at workplace. So today I'm going to share my views on how to do time management and what are the general office and business etiquettes. The session flow is divided into two. First is time management and another is office etiquette. So beginning with time management, how people manage time. Mostly this is the scenario that we often end up saying that I am giving more than 100%. So I always give 110% to my job, wherein 40% I give on Monday, 30% on Tuesday, 20% on Wednesday, 15% on Thursday, and 5% on Friday. Somehow we do jugglery between setting our times, setting our deadlines, meeting them, and meeting expectations of everybody. Meanwhile, we forget about ourselves. How? How do we manage ourselves? What do we do on a leisure day? Or what do we do on weekends? How typical our Sunday goes? Mostly in planning the next week. If we do calculations, the divine truth is something like this. We can say that average human life is 70 years. So total 25,550 days of life on an estimation basis. Total we get 52 Sundays per year. That is 3640 Sundays throughout our lives. You can do some random calculation by multiplying your current age with 52. That becomes your answer. And then calculate the difference. Out of total 3640 Sundays available to us, B, your age. Suppose hypothetically your age is 40 years. So 40 multiplied by 52, that is 2080. You deduct 2080 from 3640. That are the number of Sundays left with you. Assuming again that your age is going to be 70 years. Now, we are going to ponder that we don't have many Sundays left in our lives, isn't it? So why there's an importance of time management? Why time matters? If you see time as a commodity, time is perishable. It is one of the most precious thing that we have. And ultimately, it's the most valuable resource. So before we formally move on to the time management part, I would like to say that we must start managing our time before the time starts managing us. The clock is ticking, and so are we. Working with worth, living with glee. After all, Sundays are also meant to be enjoyed fully, even for professionals who work hard day and night, especially when we have just seen the first part of this tax audit seasons. Now, there could be two types of time. One is fast time, and another is slow time. The fast time gets absorbed. We enjoy that time so much that we don't realize where the time has passed. And when it is a slow time, we get bored, or when we fear, we always think, when will this time end? So we do have two types of time. One is fast time, another is slow time. Somewhere time and stress goes hand in hand. They are related. How come? The more you think about the time management, the more you get stressed. And if you're thinking you have a lot of time, think again. We already did the calculation that how many Sundays do we have. So we need to focus on what's important in our lives. There are certain factors which we can call time wasters, which will lead to wasting of time and creating stress. What it could be? It could be procrastination, wherein we postpone things. Will not do today, I'll do tomorrow. We spend no time to sharpen the axe. Sometimes we spend time in feeling the guilt, like what happened in past, we keep thinking about it. Or sometimes we worry about our future, that what will happen in future. And in this all jugglery, we forget that we are in present. We don't live fully. Sometimes we live for others, wherein they will say that do this work for me, do that work for me, and we start living their lives and they start taking us for granted. In such cases, we are not able to say no to them because we always give priorities to them rather than our own schedules. I hope everybody knows him. Who is he? The famous businessman and author, Mr. Stephen Covey. He has written a famous book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He has given us this very important matrix. This is called time management matrix, wherein, if you can see, there are 4 quadrants to it. If we talk about first quadrant, the number Roman 1 marked in pink color, this is the quadrant wherein you will be keeping the work that is urgent also as well as important also. If you go to see quadrant 2, here you are going to park those work which are not urgent, but then they are important. In quadrant 3, you are going to put down those work which are urgent, which are to be done right now, but then they are not important. And then the fourth quadrant is a real time waster quadrant wherein nothing is urgent, nothing is important, still we spend a lot of time over there. Taking one by one the quadrants, if we talk about the first quadrant, this is called quadrant of urgency, that is firefighting quadrant. Here we need to spend time despite any of the important work going on at office or at workplace or at meetings. See, for example, a female CA is attending a Zoom call from home. She has taken an option of work from home and she is taking a
call from a client as well as boss. She's on a con call. And meanwhile, her child gets hurt by cutting the finger through knife. She will have to leave the Zoom call or the conference call and she'll have to attend the child. Because here the work is such that it has to be urgently treated and it is important also. So you can see that we need to spend time here. This is where we manage, we produce, and we bring our experience and judgment. We will have to prioritize that as compared to Zoom call, first my child needs me. So we'll respond to so many needs and challenges when it comes to first quadrant. It could have been any deadline driven project, it could be meeting, it could be preparation, it could be pressing problems. Many important activities will become urgent due to procrastination. Now we go to the second quadrant. This is a very nice quadrant. This is called growth zone. This is where we do visionary work. We do planning, preparation, values clarification. We even anticipate what is going to come next as a problem and we try to jot down or we try to figure out so many alternative options to answer those problems. We always broaden our minds. We invest in relationship and we also focus on our health, which ultimately is the first priority. But if we ignore this quadrant, what are we doing unknowingly is we are expanding this firefighting quadrant. Firefighting quadrant is SOS, as in when need comes, you'll have to devote time no matter what are you doing. But if you are in this quadrant, second quadrant, you are in proactive stage. So try to invest more in quadrant 2, plan your day in advance, keeping some buffer for any first quadrant activities. Moving towards the third quadrant, here those works will come in your front wherein they are urgent. Somebody is asking you to do their work on urgent basis. But if you see from your perspective, the work could not be that important. Suppose a CA, a women CA, is leaving for her office. And meanwhile, maid asks her to bring some grocery or something which is missing or something which is about to get over. She will think that while I'm leaving, only the maid has to tell me this thing. But then on the other hand, she will say that if it is manageable for one day, just manage it. You will get the grocery by evening and then she can leave. But since we are proactively occupied in all the things we do, what is done is here we deceive ourselves. That is why it is called a quadrant of deception. Because the urgency is louder than the importance. The urgency, the noise of urgency will create the illusion of importance. This is where we are taken for granted and we can't say no. We always live other people's life over here. Actually, if it is so important, it is important to them and not to us. Considering our work deadlines, our work time, we live. We give a rational thought to it and we bypass that need, which is not that important. So whenever you fall in such work traps, which are falling under quadrant 3, take a deep breath, realize that it is a quadrant 3 activity. I can do it later also. But later doesn't mean extremely later. It has to be addressed timely manner. Next is the fourth quadrant. Often we slip in this quadrant. When we are tossed around in quadrant 1 and quadrant 3, we go to this quadrant for survival. Oh, I'm so tired. Today I had a good day. I had a long day. Tomorrow again I have to go and run. So let me just sit back, relax, and do mobile scrolling. So this is actually not recreational thing, but it is a time waster thing. It is a deteriorating activity. Sometimes we think and we say to ourselves that I'll be looking at the social media only for 5 minutes and then it ranges to 50 minutes. Sometimes we see any Netflix series, we see or we promise ourselves that we will be seeing only one episode of it and then we go on completing the entire series. This all activities falls in quadrant 4. So according to me, if I wrap it up, if you are in some workplace and you encounter such situation wherein you cannot deny that and it is extremely important also, it's urgent also, it is unavoidable, you will have to do that work. If it is quadrant 2, you are having a visionary mindset, you are falling under a growth mindset wherein you are forcing your future in advance and you are planning for it so then you can effectively execute whenever the event comes in future. Quadrant 3 is something wherein you will get distracted. People will throw distractions at you while you are already going on your timetable. And fourth quadrant, you must cut down or avoid on such activities so that you can divert more of your time to quadrant two. Ideally, you need to shift 1 extra hour daily into quadrant two to be successful, to be less stressful. So, what we learn from all this time management metrics is if we fail to plan a day in advance, the planning will go failed. So, majorly, we need to do smart time management. When women who are into profession and are also managing home, they must do smart time management in a way that S stands for scheduling, M stands for making time, even for smallest acts or leisure acts or pleasant acts. It could be taking the kid for the ride, it could be taking the grandparents to the temple, it could be just going and doing window shopping. Just make out time for some small activities also. Then allot time according to the dependency or availability of time. You can allot your time. You ration time. Don't take time too lightly. Don't take time too lavishly, considering that I have a lot of time. Because if we don't value time, time is not going to value us. And take time from others also. Wherever you are having a possibility of delegating the task, do delegate and lessen your burden. Ultimately, it's all about your happiness at the end. And you remember, you want to enjoy the Sundays also. Always focus on the result, not on the activity. This is how you can do visionary work, focused work, planning your schedules a day advance. And then, whatever is the end result that you want to achieve, you will drive your way towards that. Somewhere we are reluctant to move out of our comfort zone. We are always looking at our comfort zone and we are not willing to go out of it. But if you see, no, comfort zone is a little circle, very little circle. There is one bigger circle out of it. We don't call it discomfort zone, we call it courage zone. It's a courage zone. It takes a lot of courage to move out of comfort zone. But again, if you go and see your courage zone, see the things that are written in courage zone. It has ultimate potential. It is full of opportunities. It's just that you need to push yourself a little extra. You need to do a little more deep dive. And then you'll have to jump in the water. You'll have to jump in the courage zone. So we keep on thinking and feeling negative that we are not using our time productively. But if you want to use your time wisely, you need to act upon it. So ultimately, whatever work you want to do, you do it now. Follow this principle and it will make your life very, very smooth. Now, I would just suggest you that we have gone through all these quadrants. You yourself can work out a small exercise over here. You can answer some 4 to 5 questions to yourself and you can find out which quadrant you are falling into and what you need to do, what changes you need to put into your life so that the time management helps you to go through all the problems also very hassle free. So identify which quadrant you are currently in, whether it's quadrant 1 firefighting, whether it's quadrant 2 growth zone, whether it is quadrant 3 distractions, or whether it is quadrant 4 time wasters. You can ask yourself, is it the most productive quadrant for you? Do you find it easy to say no? Because people always find it difficult to say no when asked to do somebody else's work. What are your main challenges? Try to be saying no politely to them. You can always say that I'll do your work, but when I come back in the evening, I'll do that the first thing. You could list any one time waster you faced this week apart from the income tax website not working. By the way, which quadrant it did belong to? We must plan our day, and there are so many small kids and kitties available in the market wherein you can buy planners for yourself. You can jot down things if you are a very writing person. So plan each day and set your pace. Time well used brings lasting grace. Always plan a day in advance and always strive to remain in quadrant 2. Now let's move to certain exceptional etiquette which works for professional. Before we move on to etiquette, general business, office etiquette, I would like to share, first of all, what is etiquette. So, etiquette is always being comfortable around people and making people also comfortable around you. So, etiquette is basically some norms of behavior, what is expected in the society, what is expected at the workplace, what is expected when you write an email. Certain formal tone has to be said, certain words are to be used, certain words are not to be used. There are certain do's and don'ts. Even when we visit certain religious place, there are certain norms which says that cover your head, wear a turban, remove your shoes. All these are the norms. So etiquette are the general norms which the society is demanding so that you can stay in the society as a rational personality, as a social human being. Etiquette, a person with etiquette can enter the doors as compared to the person who doesn't follow etiquette. Because, in the words of Clarence Thomas, good manners will definitely open doors that even the best education cannot. You may be having a high class degree from a top university, but what if you don't ask permission before you enter the door? Right? That makes the basic difference between an etiquette oriented personality and a non etiquette oriented personality. We must be wise enough because we are already professionally sound. We do have technical knowledge, but how to present that knowledge? Because day in and day out, we encounter with so many people in our real life, in our professional life. Like we do client meetings. We even approach bank for the financial requirements of our clients. We even do communication with the government departments for facilitating our clients' works, permissions, approvals, filing, submission. If we talk about other part of our lives wherein we are managing home, we do a lot of interaction with all the community workers in the society. We do dealing with the teachers and advisors of our kids. We do attend PTM. Sometimes we are becoming huddle representatives, and we do representation from the parents community to the school or to the teachers. In all the scenarios, if you see, good communication plays a very vital role, along with good mannerism. So, this is a base of what etiquette is about. You take any damn example, any damn situation, you will see that there can be an etiquette attached to it. Whether it is meeting etiquette, whether it is email writing etiquette, whether it is flight etiquette, whether it is PTM etiquette, whether it is packing etiquette, and so on and so forth. Why etiquette matters? Because a people who is harshly speaking or a people who is rudely talking to you, you won't like to talk to that people again. But if somebody is politely talking to you, giving you way, it will build a sense of trust and credibility. This will definitely craft first fine impressions because you never get a second chance to create first good impressions. This will even smoothen the workplace interactions, thereby facilitating free flow of information from one end to another. Knowledge, we all have knowledge, we all are professionals. Adding that glamour of etiquette to it will lead us to lasting success. So, ultimately, the etiquette matters because it will lead us to the staircase of success. First and foremost, whenever we introduce ourselves to somebody in the business or profession, we need to take care of some certain things that whenever you introduce yourself, you should do it standing up and never sitting down. Whenever you introduce yourself to other person, make sure that you are addressing yourself with your full name, and if appropriate you are also using your designation when you are representing a company or a corporate or an organization. Whenever there is an exchange of cards, give the card with respect as shown in the picture. Give it with the edges. Hold the card from the edges with two hands, little down, little linear gesture, and then you can exchange the business card. Whenever you receive any business card, you receive it attentively. If somebody is giving you a business card, it means they are parting with their credible information to you. They are putting a reliance upon you. So don't just wing that business card. At least have a look at the card, read it. You can even do compliments to them, saying that nice color combination, nice design, or any other thing to lead a meaningful conversation ahead. Always maintain eye contact whenever you are introducing yourself or somebody else is introducing themselves to you. Do it with a mild smile. A mild smile is always a friendly and a welcome approach rather than no smile or rude smile. Whenever you are offering a handshake, make sure that your palms are not sweaty. Sometimes, out of frustration or out of nervousness, the glands of our hands will start perspiring, and then you will have sweaty palms. And in such scenario, if you are offering a handshake with your sweaty palms, the other person is going to carry a negative impression about you. So whenever you are doing for your handshake, you are going to offer your handshake, make sure your palms are dry. Whenever you're saying any handshake, when you're offering any handshake, don't let it be a loose handshake. It has to be a firm handshake with a proper web to web gripping. And accordingly, this will craft a good impression that you are a confident personality. So, this is called meeting and greeting etiquette and business card exchange etiquette. Next, we go to the workplace basics. Every personality is defined with three things, that is, appearance, behavior, and communication. ABC. How you appear, what are you dressing, what are you accessorizing, how are your hairdo, what type of makeup you are wearing at workplace, what type of footwear you are wearing at workplace, what type of clothes you are wearing at workplace. Every single thing gets noticed. So whenever we are at workplace, these are the things we need to take care about so as to be etiquette wise sound. Always be punctual. Whatever are your office timings, make sure you reach on time. If you have a meeting to attend, make sure you are 5 or 10 minutes early to that meeting. Dress the way you want to get addressed. If you want to get addressed as a highly respectable authority, do a layering. Layering, the third layer, always adds a sense of etiquette to your attire. It always gives a lasting impression in front of people you are going to conversate with. Always respect personal space. When somebody is on a call or when two people are talking certain business, it's not proper to jump in between. You may always ask if it is urgent. You may always excuse them in their talk and you can interfere and then you can put your conversations very professionally. You'll all have to maintain the positivity because we are working in a professional setup. No gossip or complaints are allowed or even entertained. Going further, we do have meeting etiquette, wherein there would be one speaker and there would be persons who will be listeners. Be on time. If you are the presenter, be well prepared. Carry your stationaries also together with you. Carry a backup laptop also with you. In case certain emergency turns up, there's a power cut, you can always go and explain things with your laptop. You'll have to keep your devices on silent mode so as to maintain the decorum of the meeting. If you are not the presenter, if you are the listener, listen actively. And whenever there is the time which is allotted to questions or answers or query solution part, then and then you can put your problems or points across. Do not interrupt while the speaker is speaking. Speak briefly and clearly. Let your communication be crisp so that the message gets conveyed very nicely and the same gets crafted in the minds of receiver in the way the sender wants to send it. Here, the communication etiquette also plays an important role. Yes, as I said, the third thing, that is communication etiquette. Appearance is done, behavior is done. Now, third one is communication etiquette. While we communicate, we can communicate verbally and vocally. And we can also communicate with our body language. Even if I'm silent and if I'm showing this, it means something is good, something is okay, something is proper. If I'm doing this, something is not okay. If I'm raising my eyebrows, it means that I'm puzzled, I'm surprised. So even without uttering a word, also I am passing on certain communication. So while we communicate with people, we have to be extra cautious, whether it be vocal communication, verbal communication, or your body language. When it comes to writing an email, we have to make sure that the subject line is very clear. Sometimes it is seen in corporates that the email starts from the topmost authority of the organization. It is to be forwarded down the levels of all the management by way of a guideline. And then the top management sends it to the middle management. And there are certain layers also. Like the top management is, say, for example, M1, then there would be M2, M3, M4, and so on till M9. Just see the plight. By the time the same mail gets forwarded to all the participants in that hierarchy, by the time the person sitting at M9 receives that email, there would be a tagline in the subject line: forward, 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 forward. Try to remove those forwards before you forward a trail mail. At least the reader of the email should come to know that what this mail wants to talk about. The content of the mail is clearly written on the subject line. That's where we need to eliminate the things that are not necessary and we need to throw a clear subject. The email has to be written in a very concise format. It doesn't need to be detailed if it is not necessary. And with a polite clause, you can do the email writing. In email, there are certain acronyms which we can use, and there are certain acronyms which we can't use. The acronyms that we use on social media handles are strictly not to be used in the emails. Plus, whenever you are writing any professional email, it is advisable to write in toggle cases rather than upper cases. If you write your entire email in uppercase, it means that your email is shouty. Don't let your email go in upper cases. Make sure the toggle cases are written. If you are at workplace and if you get a call, make sure you step out if it is urgent, otherwise avoid that call during office hours. No loud ringtones are preferred to be kept when you are at your workplace. No message tones which are funny, humorous, witty, religious, sarcastic are required to be kept. Basically, the profile of mobile when you are at workplace should be at professional level. If you're attending any Zoom or online platform meetings, make sure that the cameras are on so that the speaker also comes to know that the listeners are active. Speaker also get to know the feedback or the responses. And whenever you are not going to speak, when the speaker is already presenting, you can keep yourself mute. Otherwise, maybe you are not speaking, but the surrounding is making a noise wherein the speaker gets disturbed. So these are all communication etiquette which are to be observed at the workplace. Then, if you are based in a corporate wherein there is a cubicle workplace, there is a cubicle setup, you are not given a proper built, room built place or office place to sit, but you are sitting in a cubicle workplace, then these are the courtesies you have to take care of. You will have to consider each cubicle is having a virtual door. So you don't jump into the other person's cubicle without their permission. You need to respect their privacy because sometimes it is possible that the person who is sitting next to you can see from your screen, and sometimes you also can see from their screen. But you know you are not supposed to read each other's screens. Here the privacy factors comes into picture. You'll have to respect the privacy of what data they are sharing. Keep your noise levels down. This mostly happens wherein you're working with, unskilled laborers and you're shouting on phone, thereby disturbing other people. Or there is some negotiation going on between you and your supplier or you and your client, and all of a sudden the client starts shouting on you, and you also start shouting on the client, and the entire office comes to know that boss is angry. We always need to keep sure that our noise levels are down, especially if you're working in a cubicle setup. Since in cubicle setup we sit closely to each other, you should avoid wearing strong perfumes. But that doesn't mean you don't wear perfume. Perfume is coming in the part of image management. What you are applying as a perfume also says a lot about your personality. You should avoid smelly food also. Better to use canteen facilities or table and chair which are kept for taking your meals. You should go there and take your meals rather than at cubicles, because cubicle is a place wherein you are going to work day in and day out. If that place becomes dirty because of the food eating habits or because of some smelly food, even people surrounding you will not admire you for this particular point. Don't spread infections. If you are really unwell, it's better to take a leave of one day, get recovered, come back next day, rather than coming every day, even if you are unwell. This is going to deteriorate your health only. And on top of it, it will even deteriorate or it will pass infection to your fellow workers or fellow co workers or your subordinates or superiors. So you're not supposed to spread the infection. If you are unwell, it's advisable you take leave and rest. So, if we talk about the gist of if I talk about the first part, it's about managing your time. If you manage your time, what you are going to get is efficiency and growth. And second, if you mind your etiquette, you are going to get a lot of respect, credibility, and trust. Together, by managing time and conduct, it will shape your profession as credible professional, confident professional, and career oriented professional. Time well managed and conduct well kept are the true foundation of success. If there are any question and answer, I'm happy to answer them in the chat box or from the moderators.
Hello, ma'am. There is one question. If your team or boss is not time conscious, how to tackle the situation?
If the team or boss, if the boss is not time conscious, we still need to comply with the deadlines. Whatever work is given to us, we have to complete them, because boss के ऊपर भी तो boss होंगे ना. Ultimately, we are answerable for our work. So we will follow our time zones and we will strive to be in quadrant 2 so that we don't slip into quadrant 3 or 4 or 1. And if team is
Yeah.
not time conscious, and if you are leading that team, you will have to make them work on this exercise of time management, so that entire team will work cohesively to achieve the individual targets as also the team targets.
Okay.
Any other question?
No, that's not.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us insight on time management and office etiquette. And thank you to all the participants for joining us and making this session successful.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, any question?
Yes.